It's Christmas on Chronos. Hello, I'm Kaiser, and in this Star Trek CCG First Edition deck building video, we'll have a look at Klingons in the classic films era after the release of the latest virtual expansion, Second Star to the Right. Before we get to the details of the deck, just a little reminder that I will be doing a Christmas giveaway, meaning you only have to subscribe to this channel in order to get a chance to win one of several grab bags I've prepared. So I have a stack of about 50 or so, and I will be giving away 4 of them for now. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel, make sure that your subscriptions are set to public, otherwise you won't appear in my overview. And then I will randomly select 4 winners. One of them will be announced in the next episode of Tuesday's Dilemma Day, which will go public on the 28th. And 3 more will be announced in the next episode of Thursday Night Deck Building, which will probably come out on the last day of the year on Friday the 31st, because I will be going to a tournament on the 30th, and I might be taking this deck, or maybe a different one. I haven't decided yet. So make sure you have subscribed by the 26th, otherwise you won't be able to join the raffle. Okay, so last week we had a look at Klingons in the classic Star Trek TV show era. Now we have a look at Klingons in the classic films era. It was a deck type that was okay previously with the headquarters or the time location. Now they have received a couple of new tools. It doesn't necessarily give us a lot more free plays, but it gives us some different tools to work with them. So I'll just walk you through what I've prepared as a little basic deck, if you will, for classic films Klingons. We are starting with a Q's tent and a battle bridge door because we want to do some battling. And instead of the alternate universe door that you would commonly see, I've decided to add the new Slingshot Effect. It seats on table, your alternate universe classic films personal, ships and facilities, and alternate universe cards of other card types may seed and play without any restrictions. So for all intents and purposes, it functions like an alternate universe doorway, except that we also get the extra ability to move to a time location from its corresponding spaceline location once each turn. And the AU cards we play, the personal ships, must all be classic films personal. So as long as we limit ourselves to this subset of Klingons, we can use this one, and then we can even fly to time locations and do stuff to our opponent there, should we feel the need to do so. Okay, then let's have a look at the missions. As you can see, I'm running the good old Explore Black Cluster 2. In this case, it comes out as the first mission. There is Vanquish Enemy. This one is worth talking about. It's a space mission worth 50 points, but it can be stolen. Next is Chronos. That's a new version of Chronos that came out a couple of years ago. The main difference is that it's a 35-point mission and not a 30-point one, so you get more points for solving it. We have Physio Research. We have the Genesis Planet, which seats in the Mutara region, so we can insert it somewhere. So we might as well put it right there. And then we also have Escape Gulag, which doesn't have a Klingon affiliation icon. We'll talk about that in a moment. So 3 space, 3 planets with our homeworld. Okay, what do we seed? First of all, let's seed some staple cards. Make It So allows us to download Ready Room Door later on, and that gives us access to useful cards like Lower Decks and Captain's Log and so on. Defend Homeworld can download a security, always worth a seed slot for every deck, especially ones that run a homeworld, so we can also use it as homeworld protection if we don't need a particular security personnel. Then we've got the Great Hall, which naturally seats on our homeworld. The Great Hall gives us one free play of a specific set of Klingons. They have to be emperors, chancellors, or have high council in their lore. And we can also play one HQ card for free. Then we will see there the new Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Seats on the Great Hall. If we have another headquarters in play, so if we wanted to play Klingon Federation, for example, using the Office of the President, it would immediately discard. We can't use those two together. But we only have a single headquarters, so we may use it. Once each turn, your Klingon Classic Films personal reporting here may do so for free. So that's a second free play at this location. You may play personal for free only at Chronos. So if we have something else that gives us free plays, we can't use them, only the ones at Chronos. In place of your normal card draw, you may download to hand one Classic Films personal with High Council in lore, or one HQ card. So that's very useful, because sometimes at the end of our turn, we realize that we don't have anything that we can play for free, and we don't want to waste resources, so we can sacrifice a random card draw, or card draw of an unknown card, for a card that we know we will be able to play for free. And also, this can help you to get certain personal into hand that have skills that you need to beat dilemmas or to solve a mission. So it's also a kind of limited dial a skill engine in that respect. Then we also have the new Take Us Out. This is one of the little support cards for Classic Films decks. If all your ships in play are or have the Classic Films icon, they are range and shields +2 while uncloaked. It would be nullified if we had a headquarters and Camp Kittimer in play. We don't have Camp Kittimer, so we have +2 to range, +2 to shields to all our Classic Films icon ships. We are running only that kind of ship, so it's a very useful movement tool and also helps us to defend ourselves. Then we also have the Undiscovered Country. Seats on table. While all your personal play are Classic Films, you may draw an extra card at the end of the turn. So that's simply a bonus extra card draw if we limit ourselves to only Classic Films personal. And once per game, in place of your normal card play, you may nullify Homefront. If our opponent gets queued and plays Homefront, look it up, it can be nasty. On our homeworld, this gives us an automatic way to nullify it. And again, this one is nullified if we have a headquarters and Camp Kittimer in play. We don't have that. So really it's just one seed card and then we get an extra draw. So we are limiting ourselves to only the Classic Films icon personal. Now, unlike the Classic Series subset, the little silver Star Trek Delta icon, this allows us to add cards that don't have that icon. If we want to do something out of the ordinary or mix different factions, we can do that. We simply have to give up a couple of the little tools we get there. Whereas in the original series decks with their Final Frontier restriction, we do not have the opportunity or the possibility to get in any personal that don't have that icon. So we are strictly limited to that. Here we have something that I welcome very much. We have the option to mix and match with different property logos, different icons, different eras, if we are willing to pay the price, in this case, of giving up the convenient card draw and so on. My first look at the cards tells me that the more powerful decks can probably build without using these cards here that reward you for sticking to Classic Films only. But then you have to be a bit more careful with the logistics of how you get to draw cards and so on. But we'll limit ourselves to the Classic Films icon for the purposes of this deck here. So what else have we got? We have Give Me Genesis. It seeds on any Federation planet mission that requires science or geology. So we could seed it here at Genesis Planet, or we could seed it here at Escape Gulag. Both require geology. What do we get for that? We get the effect that no player may use the Genesis device on a mission they seeded. Now, in the last couple of years, the Genesis device artifact was used very often in decks that either seeded in space with a cryo satellite, or that run a planet mission that is worth a lot of points, and then use it to double the point value of one of their other planets to do a 2-mission win. And that is, of course, very powerful. This new objective here, which can be seeded, makes sure that nobody can use the Genesis device to double points. We can still use the other function of Genesis device to set a mission to 0 points, so to sabotage our opponent. For that, it still works. So instead of seeding the Genesis device under our planets here, we seed Give Me Genesis, which lets us download the Genesis device then and has this extra effect. We also have the option to download Kruge, who has a special skill that makes him be worth 15 points if he has the Genesis device aboard his ship. So we could do that. We would have to pay 5 points though in order to download Kruge. Let's just hope we draw into him, and then we maybe can use his special skill later on to score 15 points. Okay, so we've done that. And then we will play Operate Dilithium Gulag. Seeds or plays on Rura Pente, that is the Escape Gulag mission. And then we have to rotate that mission so that our side now faces the opponent. I can't do this in Lackey here, but just assume that the Klingon icon is now facing our way, and the Federation requirements of Geology, Transporter, Skill, Engineer, Cunning are now turned into the Klingon ones for us: Security ×2, Geology, Engineer, and Law, and still worth 30 points. But now it has a Klingon icon, meaning we can build a Klingon outpost there if we want. And we want to do that, because now we are spread out quite nicely. We've got an outpost here, our home world there. We've got another outpost integrated in the mission there. So we are relatively safe. We always have something to hide, but we don't do that because we're Klingons. And then we have Reunite Legends, which is a no-brainer in classic films icon decks. Seeds or plays on your outpost. Once per game, you may download a matching original series ship, except the IKS Gladius. And when your crew completes a space mission aboard a classic films icon ship, if we have 7 such personnel, 7 unique such personnel at start of attempt, we can discard this objective to score points. Another 10 points, so we can potentially pull off a 2-mission win ourselves here. Okay. If that is a bit much, it's really not too difficult once you take your time to just read through the cards. We could eliminate some of the seed cards if we want to make a tighter deck. For example, we could forego the Make It So in the Battle Bridge door if we don't want to play aggressively, instead of the Operate Dilithium Gulag. If that confuses you for any reason, we could also add another draw like a seeded Duck Blind, for example, or just stock cards that use our card play to draw cards like Kivas Farger, the Collector, and so on. But I'll leave it like this, and you find the step-by-step explanations also in the link in the description to this video. Okay, so how does the deck play? Let's shuffle, draw a starting hand. As you can see, we have almost exclusively Klingon personnel and ships in the deck, and only a few other cards. Now, we can play 2 personnel for free. One of them must be a High Council personnel for the Great Hall. The other can be any Klingon Classic Films icon personnel, and that is true for all the personnel we've got in our deck. So we want to find somebody who has the High Council in lore, for example, the new General Grok. We can play him for free with the text of the Great Hall, and then we can also play this guy for free because he's a Classic Films personnel. We do that with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and then we still have our regular card play, which we could use for a ship or another personnel. Now, in this deck, we want to do something else before we start playing personal. We want to use Operate Dilithium Gulag. It says once per game, at the start of your turn, you may download one personal with Rurapente in lore to hand. Do we find a personal like that? We've got the new Prisoner Marsha. She mentions Rurapente in lore, so we may download her to hand. And then we can still play the guys we mentioned before. And our regular card play will now be Prisoner Marsha. She doesn't report for free, so we don't have to play her at Chronos. We can also play her at the outpost we seeded at Escape Gulag. And put her there. And then in our orders phase, we can beam her down to the planet. And if we read on at Operate Dilithium Gulag, it says, while you have a captive or any personal with prisoner in title, so Marsha is a prisoner here, you may draw one additional card at the end of each turn. And that's also a very convenient draw. Only requires one seed card, and then we can play it guaranteed on our first turn. So between Operate Dilithium Gulag and the Undiscovered Country, we already have 2 extra card draws, meaning the 3 cards we normally play, 2 free plays at the headquarters, and our regular card play, we can replenish our hand fully every turn, so we don't run out of cards, which is usually the way you want to build your decks. Okay, and then we have stuff to do in the orders phase. First of all, we can play a doorway in the orders phase if we want. Space-time portal doesn't hurt to have it on the table for later. We will usually then use the download of Unreal Light Legends to download a Klingon ship, and usually our go-to ship here is the Chronos 1. If we can find it. There it is. So we download it to our outpost here, and we go ahead and download any Klingon Classic Films personal as well. Remember, Prisoner Marsha was downloaded to hand. She wasn't downloaded into play, so we still have our one download into play per turn. And we want to download the matching commander here, Chancellor Gorkon. Where is he hiding? There he is. This is important because now we have a staff chip with a commander aboard, allowing us to discard Make It So to download a Radio Room Door. It's our Q's tent. And we can use that to download one Captain's Order. So we play it, and we download one Captain's Order. It often makes sense to start out with a Captain's Log, because then that ship gets a +3 to weapons and shields. So it's 7, 10, 10, and we also have the +2 to range and shields from Take Us Out. So we already have 9 range available, and we have 12 shields. So that's already some decent defense. And we also have the Battle Bridge Door, which gives us even more attack and defense in battle. So we could potentially already move over to where our opponent is and just sit there threateningly and make them think twice whether they want to go out and attempt early. Right, after we've used Radio Room Door, it goes on top of our deck, so we are guaranteed to draw it at the end of our turn. We might as well do that. We draw our regular card draw, and then we get an extra one from the Undiscovered Country, and another one for Prisoner Marsha running the Gulag there. And then, as you can see, we are back to 7 cards in hand. On our next turn, we have a High Council leader in General Chang. We also have somebody who has just the icon, like Colonel Worf there. And then we can play another personal or ship. Depending on what personal you draw, it might be a good idea to try and get ship and commander pairs. All the unique ships in this deck have a commander. There is only a single non-unique ship that doesn't have a matching commander, but we have a decent little fleet that we can use to put some pressure on the opponent. Unfortunately, we can only download one ship. You can add a space door if you want to have more access to ships, but I've limited this deck to 13 non-dilemma seats here. And that's already it. That's how this deck will then play out. We really only need Prisoner Marsha sitting around to make sure that we get our extra card draws. Everything else can already be used for mission attempts. Now, usually what I try to do is keep one ship moving towards the opponent. We can cloak if we want, but there's really no reason. Just show them that we are ready to battle. The rest we can send down and have them attempt a mission already, or a space mission if we want to. We can use the ready room door once each turn to get out more captain's order cards. For example, we have access to a tactical console, which gives one of our shields +3. We also can get out the Defined Dedication plaque, which gives ships with matching commander +2 range. Often the second card you download is Lower Decks, because there's a good number of universal personnel, so they all get the attribute bonus. And there are even more. There is also Sleeper Ship, which is quite nice. When your ship wins a battle with its matching commander aboard, you may report a personal aboard. So that gives us another option to report a personal in the middle of our turn. Get the extra guys into play. And of course, we also have the mission debriefing. Mission debriefing stops our opponent's personal or crews when a mission attempt ends. So for example, if they run into a dilemma that doesn't kill anybody but stops the mission attempt, like the radioactive garbage scow, that means the mission attempt ends. They could immediately re-attempt normally once they've got the garbage scow out of the way, but mission debriefing makes it so that the ship is stopped and can't move away, and that gives us a window of opportunity to fly in and battle them. So that's why this is also a captain's order card that often comes out early. It affects you too. So if you think that your opponent might be the aggressor or might be more aggressive than you are, then this might not be the best card. Okay. So we get out a lot of guys, and after we have all our captain's order cards out, the ready room door can be put on one of these events to protect them. And really everything else we draw is mostly personnel and ships. There are a couple of cards that can get us bonus points, for example the Arbiter of Succession or the Klingon Death Yell for 5 or 10 points respectively. But that's almost it. There are only 2 more cards that can be nice, but are by no means necessary. There are 2 HQ cards that play for free to our homeworld. There's the other one. What do? They are both cards that we could also seed. If we don't want to invest the seed slots, we can put them in the deck and play them for free. Now they read very good on paper. Let's take HQ executive orders first. Seeds are placed on any headquarters. Once each turn, if you report a matching personnel here that has a property logo, so the little logo that tells us from which film or TV show or other property like a video game this card image is taken from. Once each turn, if you report a matching personnel here at Chronos that has a property logo that not on any of your other personnel in play, you may draw a card. So that sounds quite good. However, there are only 5 different property logos in this deck. If we get rid of these cards here, if we don't want to use these bonuses and we open ourselves to more property logos, then it can be much more powerful. In this deck, it's nice if you get it out early, but after the second or third turn, it's usually not worth giving up a card draw to download it with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, because at most this draws you 5 cards over the course of the game. You will usually have at least 1, often 2 different property logos in play on your first turn. And then if you give up another card draw to download this, that means at most you can get 2 more card draws for the rest of your game from this. So really don't worry about it if you don't have it out early. It makes sense to play it on your first or second turn. Later, you can just ignore it. And the same is true for HQ Shipyards. Again, seats or plays on your headquarters. If there is no nor here, once each turn, when you play a ship here as your normal card play, so it doesn't work on the download from Reunite Legends, you may draw a card. Again, if we have this in play early, and we get a draw every time we play a ship, that's a good investment. Once we already have 3 ships or maybe 4 out, and we are unlikely to play anymore because it's at some point we have all the mobility and all the firepower we need to keep the spaceline under control, then we don't have to bother with playing it. So if you draw them early, by all means play them. In the mid-game, usually you don't need them anymore. Okay, and other than that, it's really just a question of managing your free plays, using Guess Who's Coming to Dinner wisely to download personal that you can then play for free from your hand, and really just keep on top of all the skill.icons on your personal, because some of these new personal that have come out, like Frexor here, who has science, navigation, biology, and he also has a conditional engineer if all your personal present are classic films icon personal. And for all the personal in this deck, this bonus text is always active. Unless you somehow manage to capture and take command of one of your opponent's personal, then this text on guys like him will always be active. Same for General Grog here, who gets navigation, or who is one of the other guys? Or Kimball here, who can download a medical kit if he's with our Classic Films leadership personal, and all the leadership guys here are Classic Films personal. One particularly noteworthy card that has come out here is the Klingon Spock here, Spock, son of Sarek. He can download Tactical Console. If you draw him early, you can get more firepower out immediately. And he also brings Mind Meld and super good attributes, which can be quite useful. And we've got some old staples that have already existed in the Decipher era and that are still good, or sometimes you roll the option. The one I mentioned before, Crude here. Here you can see his special skill worth 15 points while the Genesis device is on his ship. That's one of the guys you can use to set up a 2-mission win. How do we do that? Let's say we've completed Escape Gulag for 30 points. We use it to download the Genesis device from our Q's tent. Then beam it up to Kruge's ship. Doesn't have to be his ship, in the sense that it has to be the HMS Bounty, the ship he's the matching commander of, but rather it simply means the ship he is aboard. So that's another 15 points, bring us to 45 already. Then let's complete the adjacent Physio research, 35 points, easily done. We need only astrophysics, physics, and all of our guys have the alternate universe icon. So that brings us to 80 points. Most likely we can also score 10 points here, because we can arrange it so that when we solve the mission we have attempted with 7 unique Classic Films personnel aboard. So we are at 90. And then once we are on 90 points, we simply have to draw into Arbiter of Succession and play it on a location where we have 2 Klingon leaders. One of them will have higher strength than the other, win the battle, and then we have 10 points. If we have used the text on what's it called, on Give Me Genesis to download Cruge and pay that with a cost of 5 negative points. We can make up for that by playing a Klingon Death Yell when one of our guys is killed. We can even combine this with Arbiter of Succession. So if we have both of them in hand, we play it on a location where we have 2 Klingon leaders. Let's say General Chang and Gorkon. Just beam them down to the planet there. Then play Arbiter of Succession. 2 strongest Klingon leaders here. He's a leader, he's a leader. They battle, so they do personal battle, like you do with your opponent's personal. Gorkon has lower strength, so he will be killed at the end of the battle. He has honor, we play a Death Yell, score 5 points for that, and General Chang is then worth 10 points while the Arbiter is on him. So even with 2 low point missions here, with the 30 and the 35, we can get to a 2 mission win. However, it will be much more fun if we do a little roleplay here and go for Genesis Planet and Vanquish Enemy, where Kirk and Khan did battle here. Genesis Planet is worth 35 points already. We can also seed the Give Me Genesis there, fittingly. And we can also complete Vanquish Enemy. This mission here has a very interesting game text. It says, once per game, may put 2 flips on opponent's ship here. With 50 points and relatively easy requirements, you only need high cunning, leadership, and either treachery or honor. It can be easily stolen by almost any affiliation. However, your opponent, if they want to steal it, they know that at some point we can trigger this to put 2 damage markers on their ship. We don't have to do this on the first ship, so it can become a little game of bluff. Do they send over a sacrificial ship that if we damage it and kill 2 personnel aboard, there's no big loss because they will simply send in a different ship? That can solve the mission. It's really up to us to decide how to do this. You can try and protect this mission by seeding the whale probe under it or something like that, if you think that your opponent is going to attempt it, or if you want your opponent to attempt it. But I find it much more enjoyable if you don't seed anything under it yourself and see how your opponent reacts to it. There's always the danger that if we try and clear it out, we run into a bad dilemma and our opponent flies in. But at least the game text gives us a little bit of protection. It's a very nice thematic mission. All right. Is there anything else in the Q's tent that we need to talk about? Of course, there's the HQ Secure Homeworld. We can download this with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner to hand, and then we just play it on our homeworld so our Klingons can actually attempt it. We don't have any Starfleet or Vulcan Icon guys in the deck, so we need this objective. We can download it at any time. At the end of the turn, of course. Same is true for HQ War Room. If we have enough personnel in play, we might as well give up a card draw to grab HQ War Room. It gives all our officer, security, leadership, and resistance personnel of the same affiliation as the homeworld cunning +2 and strength +2, which can be great. Not only in personal battle, but also against so many dilemmas. There's a medical kit. We don't really need it. We have a nice supply of medical. Engineer is probably a bit more of a problem. But still, we have it. It's an equipment we can download if for some reason we need something if we need a kit or anything for a mission or a piece of equipment, we can just download it. And General Chang has a download of To Be or Not To Be. Plays on table, may discard event just after a battle your opponent initiated to damage all opposing ships in that battle. That is a useful tool. You can download General Chang with Defend Homeworld, because he's got security, and then we can just put this on the table. And our opponent will know that as soon as they attack us in ship battle, we can trigger this to immediately damage all the opposing ships. That will mean 2 flips, because that's standard damage in a battle bridge door. And then we can, of course, return fire in that battle too. So if all the opponent ships are damaged, we then can easily eliminate one of them. Depending on what else we've got in play, the ships will be so weakened that we can then destroy more than one. It's a very useful deterrent. You rarely actually have to use it, but it's nice to just have it out and make your opponent think twice about what they're going to do. In the battle bridge, we have the boring Pulse Disruptor. Gives +3 attack, because all our ships are Klingon ships, and +2 defense. And it also has the -2 to range, which is quite useful, so our opponent won't be able to fly away easily. So with 2 of them, a ship will be at range -4. Some ships will then already be in trouble, because there might be a mission on the space line with span 5 or something like that, and they won't actually be able to overcome that if we hit in an 8 range ship with that, or a 7 range ship with that, and they won't be able to get to a 4 span mission if they don't have any bonuses. So that's quite useful. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the dilemmas that I've included here. There is no particular dilemma theme here. There are just a couple of dilemmas that work nicely with the Battle Bridge side deck. Disgraceful Assault for one. Gone to Shockwave, the Cloud, so really stable dilemmas that you often find in Battle Bridge decks. There are a couple of cards that I've highlighted recently in the Tuesday's Dilemma Day series. So Exact Change is one of them. And in the most recent episode, I had a look at how powerful Cytoplasmic Lifeform can be. Just look up these episodes. You can find them if you go to the Tuesday's Dilemma Day playlist, and Exact Change, it has this image of Spock in the little thumbnail. And the Cytoplasmic one has the Kobayashi Maru Scenario there. So there are just some suggestions of dilemmas that you can use. Linguistic is always good to have. Again, we have a couple of dilemmas that stop the mission attempt, like Cytherians and Female's Love Interest and Garbage Cow, because that will give us then an easy target to attack. As I said, we can also just ignore the battle part here, take out a couple of those seed cards and add some extra dilemmas, if that is more your preferred way of playing, and then just go to town with that. So this is, I feel, a relatively straightforward, even though it uses several seed cards that might look a bit more complex, but overall it plays in a very straightforward way. Play 2 for free, play a ship or a personal as your regular card play a ready room door to get out a captain's order card, and then at the end of your turn, you just replenish your hand. And you might run low on cards if you play your interrupts or the HQ cards for free, but you will always be able to replace that stuff. And if you get the HQ cards, XO and Shipyards, out early, and you draw more cards that you play per turn, then maybe by the mid game you have a hand of 10 or 11 ships or personnel. And remember the space-time portal I pointed out at the start of the video. You can always report a ship with crew if you have a very large hand, and take your opponent by surprise if they didn't expect it after so many turns. But sometimes it's really nice if you have a ship and an extra crew in hand to just drop them wherever. It says at any location, so we can use it to put an extra ship where we want to attack our opponent, or also once we've cleared our mission free of dilemmas and your opponent thinks we've already exhausted all our resources, maybe we have these skills to complete the mission in hand, and then do a space-time portal drop to just grab the mission. It can work, of course, if your opponent keeps a temporal micro wormhole on the table as a counter, then we are out of luck. But that's a fair counter. If we want to use this powerful ability, it's only fair that our opponent has an easy way to play around it. Okay, that's all I've got for today. Remember, on the 28th, the first winner of a first edition or second edition, if you prefer that, can also prepare second edition packs as well, will be announced. And then on the 31st, you will find a new episode for a deck, and we will announce 3 winners then. For that episode, I'll probably will take a bit longer because I'm planning to prepare a deck, show it to you in the video, then, or make the video, then take this deck to a tournament and see how it goes in practice. There will be some very good players in attendance, so even if the deck is good, I might just fall flat on my face with it. And then maybe do a little debriefing and add that part to the video afterwards to see whether the fancy ideas I had for this deck, whether they really worked, or whether I just was much too slow, or the sophisticated things I maybe put in were unnecessary. Or if it's just a brute force deck, maybe I end up saying I should have used some more clever tricks in order to pull this off more successfully. Okay, that's all for now. If you like this at all or haven't done so, subscribe to this channel, please, and you get a chance to win free stuff. Otherwise, I wish you happy holidays and see you soon. Bye-bye.